Good morning and welcome to The Verdict. It is great to have your company on this Sunday morning as we look back on another phenomenal Saturday of racing. The Blue Army standing up again, and the new stars of the Australian turf were to the fore. Observer winning the Australian Guineas, beautifully ridden by Ethan Brown. Ciaron Maher had a day out with Tempted winning in Sydney as well. And of course, Autumn Glow remained perfect. As we saw the new superstars of the Australian turf enhance their reputations, we also farewelled a legend of the Australian racing industry. Makybe Diva, sadly passing away at age 27. We'll pay tribute to her on the program this morning. We'll have a chat with Glen Boss, who was, as we know, her greatest partner. And that was some scenes from Flemington yesterday. Ironic that she passes away on a major race day at Flemington, the venue she owned. And as you can see, there were lots of people who wanted to pay tribute. Front page of the Herald Sun on all the major news outlets yesterday, which is fitting for the horse that will be forever remembered. Jockey joins us as always on the Sunday morning. And how good is it to have the superstar Damien Oliver back? A bit like Mick Fanning, who took on a shark with a surfboard. Ollie took the surfboard on and he came off second best. But it's good to have you back, Ollie.
Nice to be back after my little mishap, Michael. And yeah, I'll have a little break from the water for a little bit and see how we go. Make sure it's a bit mellower next time I go out, I think.
And this is you after that incident. I bet you'd thought you'd never see another hospital or an ambulance again after you'd retired from race riding.
Well, I probably have, because I've had a hip replacement 6 months ago, and now that I've got to probably learn to take it a little bit easier in retirement, probably.
Very good. Hey, yesterday, all the hype lived up. And what I'm loving so far about the summer/autumn carnival is that the good horses are getting it done each week.
Yeah, they are. It was heart in the mouth, though, wasn't it, Ollie, for the favourite backers? For the people that took the short multi, Michael, the Observer, Autumn Glow, Tempted multi, there were some heart and mouth moments, but class came to the fore and they all got the job done. Bit of a roller coaster of emotions, wasn't it, yesterday? I think most punters would have had a winning day, but the news of Black Caviar sort of just hit them in the heartstrings.
Makybe Diva.
Oh, of course, yeah. Makybe Diva.
Good for those punters who got the multi, unlike the greedy one like myself who threw in Alpha Sophie as well, which we'll talk more about. But Observer's a real deal, Ollie. He becomes the first or the fourth horse to have completed the Derby, Australian Guineas, King's High. We had Mahogany and, of course, Hototsu. And what I loved yesterday was the way Ethan Brown handled the moment, because you're on $1.55 favourite in a major race, and the way the race, I suppose, panned out. I want you to talk us through it. So let's have a look at the Australian Guineas. Ethan Brown in the Godolphin blue colours. Damien Lane on 60s, I thought, rode the race perfectly as well.
Yeah, he did. He grabbed the bull by the horns, Damien Lane, and put his horse into the race, which we've seen him probably go a little bit better ridden quiet, but Damien sort of looked at his options there, could see he wasn't going to get in and push forward, and you could see early in the race here that Ethan Brown probably wanted to stay off the fence, and Damien Lane was manoeuvring him down to the fence, but Ethan just accepted it, took the box seat. And I think as the day goes on at Flemington, you could have a little bit of confidence in that more likely than not that they can get off the rail. So he could see that there was going to be an option to come through on the inside if that eventuated.
We've seen Observer take an inside run before and be super effective. So it probably was in his mind a little bit as well, Ollie, that, you know, we've been here before. He's quickened through and taken a split and won a good race. How much do you think that little bit of early work, 3 wide, working forward, would have taken out of 60's sail? Do you think it would have been telling in the finish? Because he was a little soft that last 75. Yeah,
I'm not sure so much the early work told. I just think he's probably a bit better ridden quieter, as we've seen this prep. When he's been ridden a bit quieter, he's got a better finish. So that probably just took a more wind out of his sails, but probably helped Ethan Brown being able to get that little bit of cover and relaxing and switching off, and then he had plenty to give late in the race.
I'll tell you what, talking about ridden quietly, and it was forcibly so from the barrier, but Planet Red, absolutely enormous from the back of the field.
Look at him on the outside.
Mick Price had said they'd probably take their medicine and go back. They had to. Look at him thump the line there. Wow. Wonder if the result would have been any different from a better gate. We'll never know. Complete hypothetical. But, boy, that horse is airborne. He's got a good win in him.
He's a bloody good horse, and he has been unlucky, Ollie, with the barriers. And I suppose that's a little bit of the difference when you've got a horse like Observer, who is one of those really good horses from a racing style, racing pattern point of view. You can put yourself up on the speed, but he's been unlucky, Planet Red. I spoke to Mick Price this morning, he said he's pulled up really well. They're going to head towards the Alistair Clark, a $500,000 race. I think that'd be a perfect race for him. It'd be a little lower in grade, confidence booster. He should be able to put that field away, and then there's plenty more in store for a horse like him.
I'd love to see him in a Doncaster. No weight. I don't know if he's qualified. 3-year-old's got an amazing record in the Doncaster. If he's not qualified, I'd be getting him qualified for that and having to grow at a big Group
49
1.
kilos.
And good pace. I think that'd be just a really good race for him.
You mentioned the Alistair Clark. There might be a few mates coming out of that race. Romantic Encounter, you would assume, would go there. I would think Victoria's Spirit would also head towards that race, so that there might be some depth in that race this year.
Well, I did have a chat to Moods. He loves this horse, Victoria's Spirit. Rosehill Guineas. So going to go to Sydney to the 2,000 metres. I said, what do you think his best distance will be? He goes, he'll run 2 miles, this horse. He's already thinking much further afield, Peter Moody, but he loves this horse. And interestingly enough, I think it got beaten, or he won his maiden and got a good feeling. He ran second to in their maiden, so that's not a bad form race.
It was a very deep form race.
A few runs ago. I think this will be a good Australian Guineas, Ollie. I think I was thinking before the race that it could be thin, but the way the race has panned out, there's a big chasm between those at the top and those at the bottom, but I think there is good depth in the first 4.
I think so, yeah. And I mean, probably the pack just behind, there's probably races. I think they're genuine city class horses and probably a little bit better than that, but the cream seems to be rising to the top in these sort of races.
It's where they split to from here, horses like Big Eye, Honor Vuitton, Express Class. There's a carnival in Adelaide coming up. Do they have a look at some of the features over there to try and get a black type win? Or do they balance up and look at Brisbane later in the year? I think there'll be multiple stakes winners come out of this race. It's just what level they come to. Listed in Group 3 winners, I think, without a problem, there'll be 2 or 3 from this race.
Another beautiful ride, Ethan Brown on the winner. Let's have a listen to Ethan, who's had a great autumn carnival so far.
Yeah, I mean, down to the fence wasn't ideal for him, especially as short as he was. I'm sure the punters were thinking, what's going on here? But the main thing with him is just getting him to relax and settle, and that meant having to go down to the fence and just ride a cool, patient race on him. From there on in, I just rode him. Track's fair, we were able to get a run up the paint, and he done the rest. He's a superstar.
It was a good day for Ethan, but he also fell foul of the stewards again, Ollie. He's copped another decent suspension, which is accumulated on the one that he had postponed until after Guineas Day, which means he won't be back in the saddle now until the 31st of March, and he misses Jimmy Starr and the William Reid.
Yeah, that's going to be a costly one, isn't it? Especially when you get back-to-back suspensions. You can be out for some time, and the first one was already quite long. So, like you said, he's going to miss quite a bit of time.
He's riding so well, and he's really made that step now to that Group 1 standard. You feel like every time he's in a Group 1 race, he's a legitimate winning chance, and with rides like Observer yesterday, it's born for all to see. Is that something younger jockeys need to, I guess, trade out of their craft, that competitiveness that gets them into the position to get a suspension? Or is it a fact that you want to have that little bit of an instinct to go and force it and make things happen, and that's what makes you a Group 1 jockey? It's
a fine line. You obviously got to have that bit of presence and confidence in a big race, but at the same time, if it's costing you big race wins down the track, you don't want to be pushing it too far. So Ethan's got quite a bit of experience in these big races now. He's ridden in enough, and he's getting on the right sort of horses to have that confidence in those big races. But it's a fine line of pushing it too far sometimes and then missing big rides down the track. And
he'll be heading to Hong Kong about mid-April as well. So he might have a couple of rides at some of the Sydney features with Ciaron Maher, but we won't get to see much more of Ethan Brown before he heads over to Hong Kong. Just on Observer, what would you do with him, Ollie? I'd love to see him have a crack in Australian Cup. He's equal $5 favourite with about 3 others in the markets, but there's the option to go to Sydney for the Guineas as well, or maybe a Doncaster.
Yeah, well, probably being a dual Group 1 winner now, he's going to get up in the weights in a Doncaster, so that's probably going to be a bit tricky. I'm sure the race would suit him. I'd be looking to see the depth of strength in a race like the Australian Cup or the Rosehill Guineas are the options as well, how strong that looks. So there's plenty of options for him, but he's proven 2,000 metres is no problem for him. Just depends what Godolphin, which path they want to take.
He's the ready-made stallion already now, Shark, isn't he?
Yeah, well, he is, but what will really elevate his value long-term is whether he can beat the older horses at weight for age. And then, of course, we've got a Cox Plate at this track later in the year. 2,000 metre Australian Cup, perfect road test while you're in
As a
form like
three-year-old.
this, as a 3-year-old. The beauty of this horse, and you see it in the last 200 metres, when challenged, he really gets low and long into that stride and gets that head flat into his work. He's so tough, and you can see him really reaching and trying to win. It's a great quality to have. And if you're advertising him later in life as a potential stallion and you're thinking that's going to be in the progeny, it's a great marketing tool.
We saw Feroce go to the Australian Cup last year after winning the Guineas, but he probably has proven that he's not. He's a miler, more a 1400 miler, whereas this horse, obviously being a Derby winner, looks like the extended distance is no problem for him.
We've got the English Premier sale on today. You'll see a lot of that and all the news coming on Racing.com. But the Guineas have been going. They had 3 in the Australian Guineas, which is a pretty good stamp of approval for the sire.
Yeah, well, he's a world-class horse at a middle distance, but obviously with the Australian mares, he's getting horses that are a little bit quicker than probably was anticipated, which is a great thing. From a mile and beyond, they're very competitive. If you get a good one, like they're not all superstars, they're not all observers, but if you get a good one, they're very good, Ollie.
Yeah, and the staying prowess and the strength is what they're good for as well. He's coming back next year too, as well, Gaia. We'll take a break, our first break on the Sunday verdict after having a look at the Australian Guineas. On the other side, we'll have a look at the rest of the Flemington card, and we've still got the big Group 1s to come in Sydney, and our tribute to Makybe Diva.
The front runner, though, is Gin Twist. Gin Twist under hands and heels, 100 metres to go. 2 lengths La Gitana, and very quick, Gin Twist is going to win it. Gin Twist won it.
It was a nice start to the day for Team Hayes, who have made this 2-year-old race their very own in recent years, and another of their 2-year-old army. Gin Twist, really professional, straight to the fence, straight home, and now they're contemplating heading to Sydney for a golden slipper. It's a fair quantum leap from that, Sharky, but if you had a horse that was in form, would you have a crack?
Well, there's no standout in the 2-year-old ranks. We saw 2 good races in Sydney yesterday, and Ollie and I were discussing earlier on, the bunch finishes, both of them, and the horses maybe unlucky in both races, but we haven't seen the big dog stand up and say, I'm the horse to beat in the slipper. So if you've got one in form, why not? Home Affairs 1-2 there. Yeah. Make a really good start to his career.
And they had 3 in the race, and I suppose I listened to Ben Hayes post-race, and he summed it up really well. He said, with these 2-year-olds down the straight, it's still a little bit of guesswork, and that's exactly what happened with Jacaranda. Said just totally didn't handle the occasion, didn't handle the straight, which was the more favoured of their 3 runners.
It can happen. And Ollie, I'm sure you've ridden plenty of horses that have gone well at Caulfield or Moonee Valley, and you think, gee, this is a good run down here at the straight, we're just going to win again. And sometimes they just look for that corner, or they get a little bit lost.
Yeah, I think that's often why you see the 2-year-olds go to the inside rather than the outside, just because they're trained, particularly Melbourne 2-year-olds, to have the rail on their left-hand side. So it's just more common for them and more comfortable for them to have that rail on their left-hand side. And you do get horses a little bit lost looking for that bend. I felt the 2,000-metre races down the straight were dominated on speed there yesterday, with little or no wind as a factor. The speed horses sort of were really rewarded up on pace in the 1,000-metre races, but as we got out a little bit further, 11 or 1,200, the horses coming back from off the pace came to the fore more.
Ollie, you weren't here last week, so I'm keen to get your thoughts on that, the 2-year-old form in the Blue Diamond. We'll have a look at those 2-year-old races in Sydney yesterday. And it's interesting trying to weigh up the form of the Victorians coming through that Blue Diamond and the Sydney siders that we've seen. Just on the Diamond last week, how strong do you think it was this year?
Yeah, I think it was strong, but it was I felt a moderately run race. It was a bit on-pace dominated. I thought the runner, Eternal Flame, is it Lloyd Kennewell's horse, was a very good run from back in the field, a bit unlucky. But as seeing Stretton Ruler going well in Sydney has proved that the Melbourne form is quite strong. And then the bunch finishes you saw yesterday in Sydney with very little time between the fillies and the colts, showing that there's no standout. And if you have one that's up and going okay, it's definitely worth a crack.
Let's have a look at the Sweet Embrace. This is the fillies yesterday. Ciaron Maher to the fore again. Here's Spicy Miss. That's her there with the big baldy face and the Derby colours. Tough, gutsy win here, Shark. But again, not much between these. It was a bunched finish, as Ollie had to say. And I'm not sure who's who's got the advantage, the girls or the boys, when it comes to these Sydney 2-year-olds?
Yeah, not sure. Spicy must have been around the mark. Probably wouldn't have wanted it much further. The Screen Icon was making good headway. Interesting run in that race was number 6, Pembury, who had looked so good in Queensland for Tony Gollan. Just seemed to lose concentration, lose touch with them coming around the corner. You can see it in behind them there with the royal blue and the light blue, the little white speck on its head. Just gets detached a little bit here, then picks up, refocuses and goes to the line quite well in, semi-restricted room. Curious run from that horse. Obviously has ability. I don't know if the slipper winner was in that race.
The market says it's not. Despite the win, Spicy Miss is still around about $18 in a golden slipper. Woolwoven has retained favouritism for the golden slipper, even though he got beaten yesterday, but he was first up. He wasn't beaten by far. The big mover has been Central Europe from the Wallace stable, who was second. It should have won. It was unlucky in this race, which was the Skyline. The stablemate beat it, Campione d'Italia. Now, that's it in the McNulty Yossi colours there. Only a little thing, isn't it? Central Europe, but it was very unlucky. And then you've got the other Waller runner on the outside coming home. That's Woolwoven on the inside, Ollie, who's fighting on, not beaten far. What was your assessment of Woolwoven, first of all?
I was okay with it. I wouldn't be dropping off him yet. He was up on pace, first up, on the worst part of the track, so I'd be a bit forgiving of him. But, his favouritism is a little shaky. But once again, a bunch finished, little time between them. I think Central Europe, I heard yesterday on the coverage that he still needs more prize money to get in, so he may have to have another run to actually break his way into the field. So possibly not ideal. He runs a week before. I think it's in the Skyline to get some more prize money to get into. I think barrier draws are going to be so important this year with such an even field, and that's going to determine a lot in the market in the race, I think.
We've seen other horses like Woolwoven who looked to be early days going to the Magic Millions, the dominant 2-year-old, and he was winning really impressively, and the Magic Millions appeared to be his for the taking. He doesn't take part in the race. He's fresh first up, if we want to say, Michael, off a little let up, off a little setback potentially. I wouldn't be throwing my tickets out if I was on that horse. I think we've seen it before, Ollie, horses coming back from a Blue Diamond or coming back from a Magic Millions campaign. Slightly disappointing in that first lead-up run into the slipper, and then they find their form again. So I think there's still a heartbeat there for
Woolwoven. Definitely, but he hasn't got the stranglehold on he once did have, But
why is he $6 favourite? Does he deserve to be a $6 favourite?
I think nothing else is really launching forward.
Guest House is a big... Streisand's a bigger price after winning the slipper, and even closer to free. I know it's not nominated, but they said they're going there. It's around about $26 in the slipper. I'd rather be backing it at $26 than $6 Woolwoven.
I think that's the Melbourne-Sydney thing. They always they never respect the Melbourne 2-year-olds as much. And I kind of get that in a way because they're not trained to go right-handed. They're not Johnny on the spot there doing it. But this year, I think you really have to respect the Melbourne horses.
Yep, OK. So there's no outstanding one at this stage that you'd be telling your manager, I want to be riding this horse?
No, like I said, I think it's going to come down to barrier draws. Of what I've seen, if Eternal Flame can draw a good gate, that's probably the one I'd nearly want to be on at the moment.
Yep. All right, we need to take a quick break. Hope you're enjoying the Sunday verdict as we review all the big races from the Saturday. Glen Boss, not far away, paying tribute to his Supergirl, Makybe Diva, as well.
Racing.com provides all the information you need throughout the week. Wednesday, the Trial Show delivers expert insight and analysis. It's a triple treat on Thursday with Get On SA and On The Hunt, plus night racing at Cranbourne. Ladbroke's Friday night racing lights up Pakenham. Saturday, it's a huge day at Flemington with the time-honoured Newmarket Handicap and All-Star Mile. And on Sunday, the verdict breaks down the big moments before the Sunday Sesh team wraps up the week in style. Racing.com, all week, all access.
Just gets better every week, doesn't it, on Racing.com as we build towards the biggest days of the Autumn Carnival. Don't forget the Sunday Sesh today. We've also got Romantic Warrior in action over in Hong Kong. It was Ka Ying Rising last week. Romantic Warrior this Sunday on the Sunday Sesh. Just thinking of the Newmarket too. Trent Masonhouder's done a really good thing on the Racing.com website. He's put together the likely fields for the Newmarket and also the All-Star Mile, and we're hearing that both Jimmy Star and also Giga Kick will be nominated for the Newmarket.
Wow, okay.
Which would virtually guarantee Tentaurus will run in the Newmarket next week because he won't be given the number 1 saddlecloth.
Right, very interesting. I wonder if either of them will take their place.
I would doubt it. I would doubt it. But do you need just to have the options open? You never know what can happen.
Well, they've got a plethora of options, don't they, at this time of year? So let's hope that one of them takes their place. Oh, it'd be great to see Jimmy Star in a Newmarket. He's probably the best sprinter in the country, Ollie. Tentaurus, you know, with the exception, of course.
Yeah, like you said, it'd be a good race. Tentaurus is the new one on the block, isn't he? Jimmy Star's been doing it for a while now. It'd be great to see him clash.
We won't see Bridal Waltz backing up in the Newmarket, but gee, she could have almost won an Oakley Plate if she didn't have that hoof abscess. They waited, and this was a very nice consolation. Gee, you'd love to own a horse like her, wouldn't you, Ollie? She just tries her guts out every time. With 60 kilos yesterday, it was the class that just told.
It was. She puts herself up on the pace, makes her own luck. She goes really well down the straight too, especially for an on-pace sort of horse. I heard Peter Moody yesterday saying they're contemplating the Galaxy or the Newmarket. I think 1100 is probably a sweet spot for her, but she goes so well down the straight as well. So probably weights will indicate a little bit which way she goes there, but she's a beauty. She just, like I said, gets up there and makes her own luck, and she's tough too.
Another great broodmare in waiting for the Pope family. They're terrific breeders, and going back to Innovation Girl and horses like that, Ollie, you know, they've always had a good filly. This girl went on a rampage in the back end of last season, didn't she? Winning the Creswick and the Bletchingley and then stepping up to the Gilguy and racing well. She's come back in really good form. Wherever she goes next, I think she probably lands in a race like the Sangster in Adelaide at some point.
Mood said this morning, why not maybe have a crack at a Galaxy?
Well, you know, again, it's a handicap situation. While you're still in that sweet spot, that might be a really good, nice option for her as well.
Because you could do both.
You could do both. She's not a big mare,
yeah.
But while she's racing well and in good form, why not?
What do they do with McGaw?
He's a tricky one. I could obviously see what they're trying to do, get him to settle and relax so he's not running through the bridle in those mid-stages like he kind of got in the habit of last preparation. And sometimes you have to take a step backwards to go forward. So that race was dominated on pace, and I could see Damien Lane was looking to try and get him to settle early, and then the race kind of just got away from him. So I'd be a little bit forgiving. While it wasn't perfect there yesterday and it didn't look like a great run, sometimes that transition and teaching them to relax and pace themselves better throughout a race can take a little bit of time. So he's a horse that's shown he's got good ability, but he's just got to get it right.
And I think a lot of it is between the years, and talking to David and Emily Brown, they know the horse has the motor. We've all seen it. Now, he's beaten Tentaurus. He's a very talented horse, but he's also a bit of an immature sort of doofus. Needs to just work out that head a little bit before we see the absolute best of him.
The head-on was fascinating to watch here from the start, Ollie, because on Chalui, it looked like Ethan Brown wanted to get more towards the middle, but Dan Stackhouse, who was leading on Midwest, was like, no, I'm coming out here. So it kind of forced everyone to go over there as well. So do you boys, when you're in the barriers, have any discussion about, I'm thinking I'm going left, right, or it's just you wait and see how it all unfolds?
Yeah, I used to always like to sort of understand what was in jockeys' minds prior to the race, because the leader usually dictates where you go. Yeah. So it's nice to know what they're thinking, because you don't want to be thinking total opposite. And I was surprised they went out so wide, because I think that's where they'd been trialling down the outside of the straight. I would have thought the middle would have been a better place to go. But like you said, Ethan Brown was dictated to by the leader, Daniel Stackhouse, as to where they went.
Yep. All right, let's have a look at one of the other straight races. Educated. This one was straight down on the fence, so it showed you could win anywhere down the straight at Flemington. And Sharky, this horse is now 3 from 3, and I loved. I know Celine got suspended for this ride, but it was patient. She did cop a couple of meetings afterwards, but if you were on Educated, you were probably a little bit concerned, but she was able to extricate, and this horse might be able to continue to climb throughout the grades.
I think she will. Got a little bit warm going out and behind the gates. You can see as she comes off the back of Headbanger, who's in front. She's very sweaty down her neck. So still perhaps a little bit wound up. The stable were very confident Belmesee was ready to win this race, and she presented here to go and do the job. But Educated might be just getting under the radar a little bit there at Ciaron Maher Racing. Quickens up really well here, just as she'd done in weaker company. And it was an absolute clean margin at the end. Neat horse, nice little page behind her. She'll be going to better races than this. And you can follow her. You can also follow Yum. That was a great return from her. And Star of Omaha.
What about the way it finished?
Closing off from like another postcode.
Yeah.
It was in Kensington when they got to the top of that straight. Absolutely thumped the line. So they've got a bit to look forward to there with her too, this prep.
We'll be interested to see what the dinner table conversation was like last night with Ethan and Celine there. So, Ethan trying to sort of shut the gate and keep her in there, and Celine trying to get out. And they both end up with a suspension, so not ideal.
They might be saying, let's have a little holiday now before you go to Hong Kong. So, conversations there during the race. Is there much yelling, much talking when something like that occurs, Ollie?
I felt for the meat and the sandwich between them there. Yeah, look, they were a few horses apart, so I'm not sure there would have been conversations there, but I'm sure there might have been some last night.
Yeah. What do you think about this girl? She's 3 from 3. Ciaron and the team have taken her through her grades. She showed unbelievable speed last time, and she was able to settle and quicken when the gap opened yesterday.
Yeah, good on speed filly, got a good turn of foot. And I kind of think she'd be probably even better suited around a turn. So, you know, she's now 3 from 3. Got a good future ahead of her, I think, yeah.
It's amazing how many times we see the progeny of stallions that were really effective down the straight produce really effective straight horses. Like daughter of Zeus Star, we saw Gin Twist, daughter of Home Affairs. The Northern Meteor line in particular is very good down the straight, as is I'm Invincible. You go back and look at his good sons that won down the straight too. So, yeah, it's history repeats in many ways.
Good day for those colours. Aussie Ciaron, his connections, Birdman. I was surprised they put up a decent price about Birdman when they opened the markets for the Blamey. Again, it was a nice, patient ride, and Birdman, the class prevailed. He wins a free ticket into the All-Star Mile, but Ollie, I don't think they're going to accept that. I don't think we'll see him back up next week. He'll probably be going straight into the Australian Cup because Aussie and his owners have already got Like a Lucy, Buckaroo and Light Infantryman heading to the All-Star Mile.
Yeah, and probably this kind of horse too. You'd think European-type horse might be better suited with a bit of a break between runs, and now 2 runs in, probably stepping to the 2000s, probably going to suit him better.
Wonder if he could be a light infantryman type into an Australian Cup. You know, they paid a lot of money for him. He's into his, I think, his 3rd prep now in Australia. He's had a win there last preparation, but tried him out to a staying trip. Back now, looking a bit sharper into the autumn. 2,000 metres just seems perfect for him. I took a risk on him yesterday. I just thought maybe second up, he might be looking for that ground. But he had them covered a long way out and was very good through the line. The other horse of interest here, resuming, was One Smooth Operator off some good trials there. He is out the back with the big white blaze and the blue colours. He was okay. I don't think we hit panic button just yet with him. This was the first time he'd run below 2,000 metres in his career, despite trialling well. It clearly shows that he just wants a bit more ground.
What's happened to Willie Do It? He's a light above the day.
They've tried everything with this horse. They've looked at the genetic biomarkers that suggest he's more of a miler, 2,000 metre horse. He was bored off the back of a really impressive Derby campaign. He is a shadow of his former self, unfortunately, Willie Do It.
Good to see Mark Twain hit the line like he
did. Yeah, and has done before, fresh.
Yeah.
I think last prep, it was the Makybe Diva, he was very good.
Yep.
So it can pull out a fresh run.
Just from an Australian Cup point of view, is he well and truly in the mix, do you think, Ollie, or is he still got a bit of a ground to make up on a Buckaroo type heading to an Australian Cup?
Yeah, I think he's in the mix. He's probably in the market behind those horses, but I think he's in calculations for sure. Yeah.
We'll see what happens with one of the favourites, Wolf too. We'll talk about what happened to him in Sydney as well. But on the other side of this break, we're going to remember one of the all-time legends of Australian racing, Makybe Diva, and Bossy will join us.
20 years ago. I can just retrace every step because that moment changed my life forever, that third cup. Well, my memory is so vivid of every moment. The lead up, the actual race itself and the aftermath, it's just so vivid in my memory. And when a champion becomes a legend.
When a champion becomes a legend, Makybe Diva has won it. It is the greatest Melbourne Cup win of all time.
And when I'm like on a tour or when I'm guest speaking, when I take my cups around, people can vividly tell me where they were. The first, second, but the third one, they say, mate, I was at my mate's place at a barbecue, or I was at this pub, or wherever it was, they tell me. And I'll say, well, can you name me 3 Melbourne Cup winners since? And they'll go, oh, no, I can't. But I can tell you exactly what I was doing when she crossed the line in third cup. So Makybe Diva left a very big footprint in Australian sport, in Australian history. So it's not just a racing event that she created. It was a moment that captured a lot of people's imagination, not just in Australia, but around the world, you know. So their time in the spotlight's very small, but to be part of that small journey and to watch her develop, grow, get stronger, faster, more aggressive. Even now I look back and I just wonder, how did we do that? How did it all come about? And I'm sometimes lost for words even now, but that's what the Lexus Melbourne Cup does for you. It takes you to a place where you never thought imaginable. She was a very dominant type of mare. She wanted to win. She wanted to pass other horses. She wanted to be in front. She's that type of animal. And I'm getting goosebumps now because what I dreamt the night before become absolute reality 12 hours later. It blows your mind that I was actually dreaming that exact moment, doing that. And she was going to, and she stood there and looked at the crowd like, you know, it just, even because I'm talking about this now and it still blows me away. It'll be something that will be spoken about as part of folklore. As long as the cup continues, her name will be mentioned.
The Diva.
She left a pretty big footprint in Australian sport.
And she's done it not once, not twice, but a third. She is our champion.
Go and find the smallest child here, because that child may be the only person who ever lives long enough to see something like that again, because none of us will.
It's one of the great grabs in sport, isn't it? Lee Freedman post Makybe Diva's third Melbourne Cup, and Glen Boss as well. They were the dream team. And Bruce McAvaney, I think, summed it up beautifully yesterday as well when he said that Makybe Diva's third win in the Melbourne Cup is the single greatest moment in the history of Australian racing that will be remembered forever. A sad day yesterday when she left us aged 27, but she'll never be forgotten, and she had a beautiful life. And Glen Boss will never be forgotten because of Makybe Diva. And it's great to have Bossy on The Verdict this morning to relive some of those wonderful memories of his great girl. Bossy, how are you doing today, mate?
I'm well, Michael. Thanks you for asking. Yeah, it was a strange day yesterday, getting all the calls, and I'm talking like hundreds. I tried to get back to so many people last night about 11:30, and I woke up this morning and there was another couple hundred messages there. So it's incredible the mark that she left.
What time's the tea time, Bossy?
I'm going to hit off at about 10:30 here at the Grand. I'm missing you, Ollie. How are you, my buddy?
Yeah, good, thanks, mate. I bet your phone it would have been a pretty quiet 24 hours for you, I'd imagine, with all the messages. But
yeah.
Bossy, I've never seen a jockey and horse combination that clicks so well with like you and her. Tell us about the sort of confidence you had in her. You know, just looking back at some of those highlights, she was virtually unbeatable over 2,000 and above, and especially when there was a bit of give in the ground, wasn't she?
Yeah, Ollie, when you get on these good horses, it's actually not an easy. It's not an easy. It's an easy ride. You know, all you have to do is make sure you give them the opportunity to do what they do very well. And she had so many weapons in her arsenal. You know, she could run on a hot speed and still grind it out, or if they went slow, she had the capabilities of sprinting like an Oakley Pleat sprinter. So you build up a rapport. Obviously, with the better they get and the more Group 1s they start winning for you, the better the rapport is. But, yeah, she just gave me so much joy. She was a real kind animal to be on. Track work, all she wanted to do was please you, and she just had a kind eye. But then come race day, she just turned into a different beast. She'd become very aggressive and very strong.
Bossy, looking at that vision and the play on before you joined us, that iconic moment when you're pointing at the horse and she's standing before the crowd almost saying, "G'day, you know, did you just see that?" You know, it's almost like at times you were an extension of each other. And you talk about her kindness, but intelligence is probably an aspect of her makeup as well. Was she a smart horse? Did you feel that she just knew what you were both trying to achieve, whether it was in track work, a race, or just being together?
Oh, listen, Sharky, I think, and the great riders will tell you, the good horses they seem to be the intelligent ones. And when you look at this moment, it's incredible. I dreamt this moment the night before because I was so confident of winning. I thought, well, what is the most appropriate thing for this athlete to go out on? And obviously the clock tower is the most significant part of Randwick. It's just such an iconic piece of real estate within the real estate. And obviously it's at the public. So I thought, well, I'm going to take her down to the public and I'm going to showcase her and let her have her moment because this will be the last moment that she's on a racetrack under these conditions. And it come to fruition. And I was talking to Letzi, you know, and doing that stuff. And all of a sudden it just banged on me. Oh, my God, I've got to go back to the clock tower because this is what I dreamt. And she was appropriate.
The 3 Melbourne Cups were 3 of the best rides we'll ever see in a Melbourne Cup, Bossy, especially... against Vinnie Rowe, you cut the corner, and then the last Melbourne Cup, the pressure. But you were so serene, as you said, in your confidence. You dreamt about it. You were that confident heading into that final Melbourne Cup. Did you feel the pressure, or was it all just washing over you with her?
I was so happy. I don't think I've ever been that happy at a racetrack. It was just so surreal because, you know, she came off the back of that Cox Plate winner, and she just was airborne at the time. The things that she was doing day by day, because I spent I was with her a lot after the Cox Plate, it just to be part of that journey because we weren't really making a decision on that final Cup run until Derby morning. So Lee and I were working together closely, but I was just watching this athlete just get better and better every single day, and I was actually in shock at sometimes of what she was doing in front of me. You know, she was blossoming, she was putting on weight. Her work was just like nothing I'd ever seen before. And when we galloped her on Derby morning at Mornington, it was all over. And I was like the kid, you know, with all those presents under the Christmas tree, and I just couldn't wait to open them. And Tuesday, that first Tuesday in November in 2005, I woke up in the morning happy. I was doing radio interviews. Anyone who wanted to talk to me, I was going to tell her she was going to win. Because I just had so much confidence and you get into these moments, and Ollie, you've been there, you know, you get in these moments almost like you will these things to happen. You almost know the outcome before it. So you just become a passenger for the day and just go out there and have fun.
And I think you mentioned that Cox Plate. It's a sign of her greatness that it almost gets forgotten because that was one of the great Cox Plate wins. And this is iconic. We're looking at the replay here, Bossy, when there's about 8 or 9 and they're all hard-ridden and you're just sitting without moving.
Yeah, well, she was the ultimate weight for age horse over 2,000 metres and, you know, she put them to the sword that day and they tried to put her to the sword, but she replied in spades. And, you know, then you look at her record over 2,000 metres at Flemington when she smashed Northley. I think that record will stand the test of time. I haven't seen anyone get close to it yet. You know, so she had and the day she beat Grand Army in the BMW, like she gave that, and he came out and won the Queen Elizabeth's next start or something similar. Like he was airborne, and she gave him 8-length start and beat him by 4. I think that'll go down as her best win that day. She was extraordinary that day.
We get caught up a little bit in winning streaks. You know, Black Caviar unbeaten, Winx's amazing winning streak. But when you look at Makybe Diva's body of work, Bossy, do you feel that she gets not forgotten about, but she should be stronger in the conversation of, you know, the best horses that we've had, or the best horse in, say, the last 50 years?
Oh, listen, I'm not going to say she's the best, but all I know is that when I go to a pub or a club or a function, not many people they're all talking about one horse. It's incredible, and they all want to talk about her. Obviously, those other horses like the Winxes and the Black Caviars get brought up, but they just want to talk about her because, you know, when you're talking about Melbourne Cup, it's so intertwined in our fabric, and it's the one race that people gravitate towards. They don't really understand about Australian Cups. They don't really understand about BMWs, but they know what a Melbourne Cup is. And even the younger people, which is I find fascinating, young people who probably weren't even born, are fascinated by the story. So, listen, one thing I hate doing is comparing champions to champions, because what they're champions for a certain time, a certain reason. They capture our imaginations at a certain time, and their shining light is so small. If they're there, lucky to be there for 3 or 4 seasons, that's a long time at a good level. So all you do is just embrace them for what they are, and then another champion will come on at some point in the next decade or so, and that'll capture your imagination for a completely different reason. So I think you just got to admire them all for what they are, and take it as that. Don't compare.
Bossy, we can't forget David Hall, who trained her to win her first Melbourne Cup. Lee Freeman and the Freemans did was phenomenal. And also the big mullet, Tony Santic, who became one of the most famous people in Australia during this time, the tuna fisherman as well. He had a beautiful quote yesterday saying that she wasn't just a racehorse, she was part of the family for him.
Well, Tony lived on that property at Geelong, and she was there, and he would have went and seen her every day. So she's a massive part of his life. Like you were talking about a life-changing moment. That mare changed his life in so many great ways. Him and his family, Christine, and you reflect on David Hall, going back, and the amount of attention to detail that he put into her to set the foundations for her to be a great horse. And then Lee Freeman took over and turned her into a champion. When you reflect and you look at all the combinations that all fell together for her to be what she was, the David and then Lee, and obviously then I come into the picture, and I was probably at the peak of my powers at that time. I was riding so well, and I was seeing it so well, and then you have her, you have her and then the other part of the recipe that all came together. Those are the moments when you just go, wow, that's what it takes to get that sort of result. You need everything to be perfect.
As you were, Bossy, on those 3 Melbourne Cup rides, and you've been so great telling the world about her as well. Appreciate your time this morning. Ollie thinks he's got the wood on you. Who's currently the best golfer at the moment?
I can't beat him. Ollie has to give me more shots. That's the thing.
Easy.
But the only place I have got him is at my home. You take him out of Melbourne, and he's no good, the bloke.
Yeah, I agree with that.
No, I love you, Ollie. I'm glad to see that you're up and about after your injury, mate. You bloody scared me there for a moment, you bugger.
No, thanks, Bossy. Keep that head down today, mate. Just don't try and swing it too hard.
Mate, I'm looking forward to seeing you, my friend, down there soon. Thanks for your time, guys. Love you all.
Good on you, Bossy, the legend, part of Makybe Diva. We need to take a quick break. On the other side of this, we'll talk about what could be the next legend of the Australian racing game, because she remained perfect yesterday.
Makybe Diva's racing up, Envoy's trying to go with it. They've got to Portland Singer and Lachlan River. Here comes Like a Belkin and excellent, but Makybe Diva clear with 100 metres to go. Excellent runs to second. Olazurn runs on, but a champion becomes a legend. Makybe Diva has won it from either orders.
Hope you're enjoying your Sunday morning. Quickly, get your phones out now, because this is your chance to win a share in a racehorse for nothing, with thanks to our good friends at My Racehorse. Just scan the QR code there and you will go into the draw to win a half-brother to the Group 1 star La Creek. So it is Circus Maximus out of Destiny Cove. Each and every week we are giving away 5 micro shares. Those winners will be announced tomorrow. Sharky and I, The Verdict podcast, will be live at the Inglis Premier Sales, and we will announce the 5 winners. The competition that's brought to you by the Group 1 winning team behind Apocalyptic, Willie Do It, Space Rider and Ninja, My Racehorse. See the landing page for any terms and conditions related to this competition. competition. You're mad if you don't enter. It's free to enter, and you could become a racehorse owner with thanks to My Racehorse. All right, one more race to look at Flemington, and then we'll get to Autumn Glow. Let's have a look at the English straight race worth $1 million yesterday. Alpha Sophie was all the rage, but what about the first up training performance and the continuing performance from Danny O'Brien? Get a good feeling. First up from the Oaks, and she burst through the centre over 1,200 metres, Ollie. It was an outstanding return.
Yeah, great return. A beautiful ride by Billy Egan. Much better than a kick in the you-know-where, which Billy copped a few weeks ago.
Boy.
So that was a great result for the team. Danny O'Brien's been in great form as well. And Alpha Sophie, I'm just not sure about her 1,200 down the straight. You've got to relax and settle better than that if you're going to run out a strong 1,200 down the straight.
I know she went to an Oaks, get a good feeling, but she struck, I think, everybody that she was probably a bit sharper. Do you think she'll find a really happy spot at a mile?
I think so, yeah. So there's good races, those fillies and mares races in Sydney around a mile, or possibly the Australasian Oaks in Adelaide if they want to stretch her out to 2,000. I think 2,000 okay. Not sure you'll see it again at the 1.5 miles.
Moods said this morning that Alpha Sophie's pulled up well, said she copped a bump out of the gates that set her off and she wanted to pull her head off and over race all the way down the straight. He said it was really disappointing, but they're going to give her another crack. It just wasn't her day yesterday down the straight.
Yeah, it's a shame. She's a really talented filly. When they start odds on, you know, obviously the punters are all behind them. You don't want to see them over racing and not running to their best.
All right, let's have a look at Autumn Glow in Sydney. This was built up as the race of the day and the very elegant. She was $1.25. She delivered, Ollie. I love the run of Aliana here, and gee, we're spoiled at the moment. We've got some really good horses and they're all standing up.
Yeah, she just had the perfect run there yesterday, sort of the one you wanted to be on in the run. But, you know, Aliana tested her a little bit there. She's come back in great form. I was really pleased with Sir Delius's return there. I thought he was a bit fresh and over-raced early when Willow put him up into a spot. And Trinity College was a nice run just behind them as well, I thought.
Yeah, loved the run of Trinity College, but boy, Aliana's going to be something when she gets to her right distance range. And we hoped she'd make that progression, and from the spring, and Chris Waller was saying physically she's probably not where I'd like her to be. Looks like she's come back a better horse this time.
James McDonald, have a listen to what he had to say after the win on Autumn Glow.
South, I think she's got that demeanour where she's got that presence where you just fall in love with her, you know. Like she had, like Animo had presence and he captured everyone's imagination. This one will do. She'll take it to a new level because of that unbeaten streak. But she's a cool chick and she struts around like she owns the place and she knows she's very good. Today was obviously like it's gluey ground, so you're never going to put a margin, like accelerate like she did last time. So it was about just getting the job done and then hopefully move on to the George Rider.
And then after that, what do you want to see her in?
Queen Elizabeth.
Desperate to see her in over the 2,000?
Yeah, I do. I think she'll win it.
Well done.
Thank you.
Why wouldn't you? I'd like to see her go there as well, Ollie, and put all the cards on the table.
Yeah, I'd like to see her draw well. I reckon if she had to do it a bit of a tough from a wide gate there, at that tricky start at 2,000 metres, I wouldn't be as confident as J-Mac is.
Boy, he was emphatic, wasn't he?
He was.
Bang.
Another jury out with Wolf. They found blood in the nostril, in the trachea, has to trial to the satisfaction of stewards and vets. So I think there's a big question mark about whether he continues his campaign. The other Group 1 in Sydney that we need to look at was the Surround Stakes, and this is tempted. Now, for those that took the shorts, you would have been turning around high-fiving your mates right now, and then you would have been going, hang on, what's going on here?
I think we all know the answer to the question. 1,400 is probably as far as she wants it, and she got there in time here, but I doubt we'll see her beyond 1,200 metres again in her career. The Group 1 goes on the CV. Savvy Halle, you would expect, tempted to be putting a horse like that away, but she fought on really well and has clearly come back in good form. But, yeah, 1,200 metres only, I think, from now on, Ollie.
Yeah, I agree with you there, Shark. Yeah, I'll be surprised if we see her at 14 again soon.
Yeah, they got a decision whether they go to the $1 million Arrowfield, the Group 1 race, or whether they bring her down for the William Reid. So we'll see what Godolphin want to do there. All right, time for our on-track, off-track. Ollie, you can kick us off. Who's your on-track?
My on-track is Planet Red. I reckon the Doncaster, as I mentioned earlier, a lightly weighted 3-year-old, is so suited in that race. Even if a horse like Autumn Glow goes there, I mean, he's going to get him like 49.50. If he's not qualified, I'd be getting qualified for that race.
Yep. Yeah, well, I don't even know if Autumn Glow, I don't think it'll go there. As we heard, maybe George Ryder, and then who knows. So it could be a race for a 3-year-old. Who's your on-track, Jockey?
Maybe not so obvious out of that Autumn Glow race, but Trinity College, he's worked that last 200 metres, making up a lot of ground, and then very strong through the line. He's a high-class horse with very good European form. 2,000, 2,400, he'll be winning a good race.
All right, I'm going with Victoria Spirit. I think the 3-year-old form, especially stepping out over 2,000 metres. Peter Moody's got another very nice horse. Who's your off-track, Ollie?
Alpha Sophie, down the straight at 1,200 metres. I want to see her around a bend, and I want to see her settling a bit better next time. So, yeah, if you're going to go down the straight at 1,200, you need to settle and relax the first half of the race, otherwise you're very vulnerable late.
I thought it might have been surfing down at Bell's, but... What about you, Sharky?
Oh, carnival suspensions for jockeys, Michael. Bad time to fall foul of the stewards and Ethan Brown, Celine Gaudray yesterday. Ethan Brown, March 31st. There's some costly races where he would have had major chances in Group 1s.
Good news is, though, Mark Zara will be back next weekend. So he'll be back. I think he'll be on 10 Taurus. It looks that they will be heading towards the Newmarket. Mine is Wolf. I'm sorry to say it. I love this horse, but 2 weeks in a row, there's been an issue with blood being found in the nose as well. And this is what Joe Pride has said, that they will require Wolf to gallop 1,000 metres in the presence of a steward, and the veterinary officer will also be present when Wolf undertakes this requirement. Tough to get him to an Australian Cup now.
Very tough, I think.
Yep. Hey, boys, good to see you. Ollie, hopefully we'll see you next week. Keep out of the water. Sharky, I'll see you at the sales tomorrow.
Can't wait, Michael.
Yep, sales today. And don't forget the Sunday sesh. It's a big, big week coming up on Racing.com. Enjoy your Sunday. We'll see you soon.